We got a hell of a show for you guys today. We are breaking down all things Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod, recapping a bunch of the events that we just saw take place in the sport of drag racing, as well as everything coming up in 2025 on a special Q&A episode of the show. JT, let's do this deal. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. Hope you're doing well out there. Remember to smash that subscribe button, join our family, be part of this movement that we're creating here to grow and build the sport of drag racing, take this sport to its next level, if you will. Guys, we got a super fun show for you. We've been working on this for a little while, where we have been kind of compiling questions, commentary, all sorts of things from all of you out there in the interwebs to share with us and kind of drive a little bit of the conversation today. So we always have like a bunch of people popping in and out, and it's fantastic and it's fun, but we get tons of killer commentary from y'all in the comments. So like, let us know in the chat what you want to talk about, the things that are near and dear to your heart, issues that you believe are facing the sport of drag racing. And we are going to pull out a bunch of questions out of the hat today. We've got I think a half dozen or better, 7, 8 questions from fans and readers of Drag Illustrated and followers of the show here. So we're going to dive into each and every one of those guys. JT, Hudson, Mike Carpenter, what's up, boys? You doing well?
What up?
Good, man.
Another version of the Lane Frost hat. I really am feeling that logo.
Yeah. Got those red lights back there. I wonder if you might turn those green, if they're LEDs, that might be part of your bet with Fletcher.
No.
Yeah, that was my condolences, JT. Rough weekend for the Chiefs faithful, man. But
he was fine, except for we had to go to the bank to get Fletcher's money.
Well, I ran into some problems with that whole deal. Like he wanted ones, and so I text the bank, and I'm like, hey, I need a shit ton of ones, and and they go, JT, that's a pile of ones. Like, we have to order those in. They won't be here for 2 weeks. So I text him, and I even screenshot the text message back from the bank, and he's like, that's a you problem. And I'm like, no, it's an us problem if you want paid, so, but anyway, and then he finally let me just send it to him. But
there should have been it should have been like an index, his salary versus your salary, to just even that out a little bit. Seems pretty kind of unfair.
It really does seem a little unfair. For those that don't know, and this is classic JT inside joke.
He's retired though, so he's at zero income. He might be on social.
For those that don't know, JT made a bet with longtime drag racer and former NFL superstar Fletcher Cox, defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Has actually been one of our World Series of Pro Mod invitee team owners the last few years. But you guys went all in on the Eagles versus Chiefs game over the weekend. We all know how that worked out, man.
Yeah, it didn't work out great for me.
No, it's terrible, man.
Can't win them all, man.
You can't win them all. We were kind of hoping that was going to be the case. I think just win them all. Continue doing that. But no, man, it just prolongs the story. I think that's one of the things. It's like these guys are all so young, it seems like. I mean, we spend so much time talking about how old Tom Brady is or how old Aaron Rodgers is that I think sometimes we like gloss over the fact that like some of these cats that are doing big things are like still in their 20s.
Very young, yes.
Tom Brady's pretty old. I think he's about JT's age, actually.
Yeah, hell, he might be older than me. I don't know.
He may be.
I'm older than Aaron Rodgers. I hate to when I see him out there and he's just.
You're older than Aaron Rodgers.
I'm older than Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Jeez,
I'm like,
and he's out there looking all disheveled and straight off an ayahuasca binge and the salt and pepper beard. Yeah, long hair. Sometimes you never know how long his hair is.
If I played for the Jets, I guess that it ages you quick. He didn't look like that when he was in Green Bay.
When I was talking to Fletcher though about football, he did mention that. His step back from pro mod was just all part of the plan. I don't know if I'm probably not supposed to say that, but he said when he does come back, he's kicking doors down.
Oh,
so I don't know.
Okay. Well, we want to see that, man. I expected to see him once he retired. I expect to see a lot more of him. Not only car ownership and at the track, but maybe behind the wheel.
Maybe I wasn't supposed to, release that news or anything, but at this point, I look like I paid for it.
Yeah, you helped. Are you going to get a decal on his car? You should.
I should get a decal, right? Yeah.
You should. I don't know how you're going to. I don't know if he'll show up. I got to our first question of the day, and I do want to just say as we kind of start the show that we're excited about this format. We're going to weave this in. We feel like we need these opportunities to kind of touch on some of the things that you guys want to talk about. A lot of times we spare a few minutes at the end of this pod and ask some questions and going back and forth with y'all, but we want to kind of make this more of an event. So more of a focused thing where we know we're going to have some questions coming in. So you remember, you can reach all three of us perhaps best by email. It's Wes@dragillustrated.com, Mike@dragillustrated.com, and of course, JT@dragillustrated.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. We're lucky to hear from tons of people all the time, various things, asking questions, inquiring about how things work or why something's happening the way it is. But we love to have your guys' kind of guidance on where these conversations head. So feel free to shoot us questions. You can throw them in the chat here. That's probably one of the quickest ways, at least initially here, to get them in front of us. And we'll try to dive into any great ones we get in the chat today a little bit later in the show. But the first question of the day, guys, that I've got, and we'll just say that this one is presented by our friends at Applied Racing Technology, brand new sponsor of the Wes Buck Show, big supporter of everything we do here at Drag Illustrated. And remember, based out of Clearwater, Florida, ART has spent more than 2 decades earning a reputation as one of drag racing's top names for quality parts and award-winning service. These guys live and breathe drag racing, whether it's Pro Mod, Pro Stock, or the all-important grassroots categories. Make sure you log on to appliedracing.com today and support those that support us. Guys, first question, and this has kind of been the theme of the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod dating back to year 1, 2017. Who will be the breakout star at the World Series of Pro Mod? Will we see another dark horse winner, or will it be a known contender? We've seen that, guys. We've seen it play out. I mean, Mike Bowman was a late addition to the roster in 2017, came out on top. Carl Stevens came out of nowhere in year 2 out on Thunder Mountain and took out Danny Rowe in an epic final round. Then we saw the late Scotty Oaksis go to the winner's circle completely out of left field. No one would have predicted that Scotty O was going to get the job done out in Bandamere, and he did. We carried that kind of energy, right, for the crazy to happen. If it's going to happen crazy, it's going to happen at the World Series of Pro Mod. We saw Spencer Hyde barely eke into the field, hole shot his way to victory and like drag racing superstardom. We saw the same thing, something similar happen in 2024 with Derek Ward, who was, while a well-known, part of the Northeast drag racing scene nationwide, was something of a fresh face, goes to the winner's circle. Incredible moment there between him and Jim Halsey in the final round. But I mean, what do you guys think? We'll throw this around the room here, and we'd love to hear from all of you in the comments. We got a slew of heavy hitters. We saw some guys, some of the usual suspects over the course of the last couple of months at the Winter Series, showing up and showing out. Kai Kelly, Ken Cartuccio, Lyle Barnett, Travis Harvey. The list goes on. I mean, what do you guys make? Are we going to see somebody new, or is it going to be another new star, or will we see one of the kind of regular hitters get the job done?
I think it's going to be somebody new.
Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. You think it's going to be somebody new?
I do. I mean, because basically you're taking the handful of guys that we have that have won it against the field, and the field is just too fucking good.
But yeah, the field is good. I think that's what, obviously, that between that and the chip draw, that's kind of what invites the chaos that we've seen. But Vic Alvarez is actually making a good point in here that I was going to echo. it could be Vic himself. I mean, we're going to see him making his debut at World Series of Pro Mod, and that would be obviously a new face on the scene that would fit that mold. But if you're asking dark horse versus a known contender, you got to look at somebody like Erica Enders. Lyle Barnett was mentioned earlier. Travis Harvey is a comment we're getting in here. These are all well-known names, but haven't won, or I mean, Lyle was runner-up at U.S. Street Nationals, but haven't won any of our events. But I certainly wouldn't call any
Steve
of those
Jackson.
people. Yeah,
there's a lot of names out there,
but none of those are dark horse people. None of those
they're not. But they
haven't.
Yeah, but they haven't won.
Ward.
Yeah,
for sure. But I think the question is it going to be one of these known stars that we have, or
and that's why I'm saying that I think it'll be a new one, because we've got all of these superstars out here in this field.
A new winner for sure, but someone like a superstar like that hasn't won our race, or someone that's just off the radar right now. I think that's more of the question.
I think that the door just swings so widely open for the dark horse underdog story at these chip draw races, especially when you're introducing all this pomp and circumstance and all this prestige. Because that's one thing that I think was a big storyline at the U.S. Street Nationals that we've probably not talked about enough, is all the red lights and the screw ups and the double bulbing. And there is an energy here that most of these guys and gals that haven't been in a bunch of big money grudge races or anything like that have never experienced before. I mean, that is the feedback that I get after every one of these races, is that they've never felt anything like this. They've never experienced that type of anticipation. They've never had that level of nerves. So I think you bring in somebody who's kind of playing with house money, that gets into the show and they're satisfied with that. They were excited to qualify. And then you get a couple of lucky breaks, or you win a couple of rounds, via, kind of the mind games that are at play at this whole deal. I don't know, man. I think that the door kind of stays swung wide open. But to your point, for an underdog story, but to your point, JT, and some of the names you mentioned, and you as well, Mike, with Erica Enders and JT, Stevie Fast Jackson, I can't help but feel like we're kind of due for one of those usual suspects to come in and get the job done. I look through this list,
or Ken Q.
There's another question.
You just got to know. I mean, Ken's probably just going to roll out there and just off the trailer, which we could talk a little bit about that new program that we've got going on, and just be. I mean, that's what he did. I don't think he aborted a pass at U.S. Street Nationals, and that car is just on rails. So you got to look at him, like, who is really going to be able to knock him off at this point?
I think it's going to take somebody like Mark Mickey. I see Mike Poland in the comments talking about Mickey being number one qualifier back-to-back, the first two races of the season. Really impressive performance on the heels of a badass year in 2024, just collectively. I think they had damn near a dozen number one qualifying efforts headed into the Winter Series, and they've stacked a couple on top of that. I think a couple of those guys that steady find themselves up at the top of the sheets. I'm thinking, Ken Cartuccio, of course, Kurt Stedding. I think Kurt's another guy that's Kurt's made some deep round runs. That's a hell of a driver. And can be a difference maker. Can go out there and win you a race on a whole shot.
He's fourth in the points right now, just like quietly sitting up there, and he always runs well at our events.
He does.
I think he went to the semis at World Series last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and obviously runner up the year prior to that. So
he's so consistent.
He's always there. I'm trying to think of guys like our list of drivers are so strong. I'm trying to think of anyone that I would even put in a category of like.
I'll give you a few. I mean, I really feel like so for some of the usual suspects that I expect.
No, I mean like names that are not like a complete household superstar names.
Oh, I mean, to me, like, well, Jason Scruggs, Melanie Salemi.
Yeah, that's household names though. Yeah,
they're household.
But you know what? That's saying something that, hell, man, a lot of this field is superstars.
I know that's what I was saying
in their respective. Where they're racing at, they are the superstars. So it's hard to find somebody that's just a complete dark horse that you're like, yeah, man, that guy ain't got a chance.
I got to tell you, man, Ryan Hayward really made a statement for that. A guy that I think a lot of people wouldn't have completely understood why he was even invited. Right, relative newcomer, but we saw something in him.
You have a mustache like that, that's going to get you invited. I mean,
it's going to get you invited.
Come on, brother.
The Deckers, I think, are another group. We've got some news coming out this week that they will be actually expanding to a 3-car operation at the World Series of Pro Mod. We'll see Mike Decker Jr., Mike Decker III, big change in Hollywood, but we'll also see Todd Tutterow King Todd Tutterow join the Decker mix there as a third driver in a brand new car from Larry Jeffers Race Cars. A little bit of news that we'll be reporting on further via dragillustrated.com here in the coming days and hours, actually. But yeah, so there's some of these guys that I just really don't think you can count out. Jericho Baldoff is another one that has ran really well. You mentioned, I think James Beedling is definitely capable of making a run at it.
What about the fact that we've had like Kai Kelly would have fit that mold at Snowbirds, wins the race. Ryan Hayward's a great example at US Street. I think someone that in that, maybe even if they don't win the race, but just has a showing that is way above what we expect. Maybe we can throw out some names that kind of fit that we think are going to just really exceed expectations. Like kind of looking at the list right now.
Okay, I'll go down right now. Alex Laughlin. I think Alex has shown steady progression from race 1 to race 2. I think he just barely a few thousandths cost him qualifying at the U.S. Street Nationals. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Alex Laughlin get in the field. They've been testing like crazy, doing everything they can to get that hot rod up to snuff for what is undoubtedly the baddest door slammer drag racing competition on the planet Earth. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him, really sneak in there and be a contender, at least raise some eyebrows. There's a slew of these guys that, Kenny Lang and how good they run with that Al Billis hot rod. Spencer Hyde. I think Spencer's another one. Spencer Hyde and Mark Savage can jump up and bite you anytime they want. It'll be interesting to see how I really think that David Monday and Tom Blinko can run the number. Can they go 5 rounds? I think that's yet to be seen, but I do think that those are 2 cars that have the latest, greatest equipment that can run the number. I think we're going to see some nitrous cars in the mix more so than we've seen. We've given a lot of kudos to Matty Deach, New York's own, as well as Andrew Handress out of the Florida camp, coming in and representing for nitrous cars. But we're also going to see, Amber Franklin-Denton, returning, right, Tommy, for her second go round. Tommy Franklin, new car. Keith Haney. I can't help but think Keith's going to be able to put this deal together and make a run at it. I want to be Blake Housley, another one, brand new car, right? We saw him unfortunately step away from the 41 Willis that we all fell in love with, but he's behind the wheel of a 68 Camaro now, and he's got the same stuff anybody
Craig Sullivan, somebody's throwing out here. He actually told me that he made some changes to his car to take advantage of that extra 10 pounds. We took another 10 pounds off the nostalgia bodies for this race. So he did, even though it was, I think, pretty expensive and it was a tough deal for him to do, he actually did get another 10 pounds out of his car. So, and we've got Pro Chargers with a little bit of a weight break going into this event. So I think you can see some of those. We talked about Eric Enders, Lyle, some of those front runners. Jason Harris wasn't at US Street and is going to be, he said he's going to be at World Series if he has to have a team of nurses around him the entire time. He's not missing it. And is it Johnny Camp coming back too?
Johnny Camp's coming back.
We're gonna have
you're talking.
You're gonna see more strength out of not only the nitrous car field, like we just talked about, but Pro Charger as well. We've been the screw blown. I mean, the screw blown combination is the majority of our cars to begin with, but these other combinations have been missing some of their heavy hitters. So I think that could shake things up a little bit.
I do too. I'm anxious to see how it plays out. When you have one of the questions that we got is a fantastic kind of segue here, and I'll throw this up right now. We got a question from Mia saying, "What's going on with World Series of Pro Mod car counts? Any additional little Gangsters info, new vendors, and Real American Beer involvement?" So we'll kind of tackle all these simultaneously, but this is a great opportunity to talk about the car count. Mike, I know this is something that has been much discussed and talked about online, but right now we're over 80 entries in Pro Modified alone. I think you're talking about the World Series of Pro Mod being historic on a multitude of levels. Not only is it the biggest, richest pro mod drag race in the history of the known universe, I think it will be the biggest in terms of sheer volume. We have 80 plus world-class pro mod drivers, pro mod cars, all converging on Bradenton Motorsports Park. We've never seen that before in the history of drag racing.
Isn't there some discussion that maybe in the IHRA heydays or the ADR heydays that there was 1 or 2 races that had 60 plus cars, but I feel like if we get into that, we already hit 69. We get into that 70 number. I don't think that there's any question that it's going to be the largest field.
I had a long-ranging discussion about this with Brett Kepner the other night, and we talked about it. And even if you stack together, some of the best attended ADRL events in Pro Extreme and Pro Nitrous, we never saw, cresting 70 cars. And even the glory days of IHRA Pro Modified didn't see that. So I think, I feel, he told me, and I put a lot of weight in what Brett says when it comes to records and historical stats in the sport of drag racing. But he said, I don't think you have any concerns promoting your event as the biggest turnout of Pro Mod cars ever right now. He goes, but if you crest that 70 number and even encroach on 80, there will be no doubt. So I think we're looking at 80 World Pro Mods at the World Series of Pro Mod. I mean, you're going to have some attrition. Unfortunately, you're going to tear something up in testing. You're going to have a trailer breakdown. We go through these things, and it's why we put the time and energy into these invitations and selecting our roster the way that we do. But I feel pretty confident we're going to have between 70 and 80, if not 80 plus Pro Mods on the property at the World Series of Pro Mod. And we're,
and we'll have a good,
for those that
good second chance race too.
The second chance race on Saturday is going to be absolutely bananas. I think it's going to be great to see all these guys that have made the toe
for that. Yeah, like how we're going to do that.
Yeah, so it's become a little bit of a tradition at the World Series of Pro Mod. More than a little bit, it's become an absolute tradition at the World Series of Pro Mod that we host a second chance eliminator for the cars and teams that do not qualify for the 32 car show to race for $150,000. So we do a second chance race, and we do this in Chicago style format, which is kind of harkening back to my match racing days with my dad and my uncles in the Midwest growing up. Chicago style was a great way to run a drag race through to completion, but have it only take 2 rounds, right? Something that you can make happen really fast.
When we showed up, and it was like, because I'm like, man, it's so tough. But it's good. It's great for what we're doing.
Basically, for those that don't know, everybody that DNQs will be allowed to take the tree in first round, and the quickest 2 cars come back and race for the money. So it's basically like all run for the DNQs. For those that didn't make the field, everybody runs, and the quickest 2 cars come back.
Winners. It's the quickest 2 cars, period.
The quickest 2 cars, period.
Yeah. All right. So it really doesn't matter like who you're matched up with, or
not really.
Whatever. No. It's just run them.
It's just run them, and the 2 quickest cars come back and run for the money. So, anyways, I'm excited to see that because haven't done this our whole lives, right? I mean, we know what it's like to load our shit up on race day or have the car.
We've been getting a lot of questions. Because obviously we had 60 plus at Snowbird, 60, almost 70 at US Street, and we get a lot of questions. Can we do a second chance race? Every class wants to do a second chance race. Mm-hmm. And it's something that as we've evolved to doing these 3 races in series like this, something that we reserve for World Series. So I think it's cool that we've kind of held off until this point, and it definitely rewards the guys that want to come out here and play ball in this 80 car field. To possibly have a second chance. And I think we've seen guys like use it. The Jeff Rudolph is a great example of this. He won our second chance race last year. And then he's a guy actually that fits the mold of the question we were talking about earlier, who's someone that's kind of off the radar, who's been running really well. I think he qualified in the top 10 easily at US Street. Pro Charger combination, who won our second chance race last year and has been steadily making improvements to his program, and that we could see go out and surprise people at World Series. So it's a great platform for guys that, and it's crazy looking at our non-qualifier list and seeing the cars that we're sending home. That second chance race, if guys are going after it, is going to be, insane. It's going to be crazy to see what these guys do when an all-run format and coming back. So excited to kind of bring that back for World Series of Pro Mod.
Me too. I think it's a very necessary part of what we do, and to ensure people get, a bunch of shots at the track, get to race in front of a big crowd, a whole bunch. And I'm glad to tick as many of those boxes for these guys and gals as we possibly can. Another one that really made headlines in the second chance race was Melanie Salemi in 2023. She ran quicker in the second chance race than anybody did throughout eliminations. In the qualified field. And so you look at a guy or a gal that was just a run or 2 behind that are able to kind of go salvage their weekend by way of that second chance race. So I'm excited about that. It's great. The Midwest Drag Racing Series has been doing that basically since their inception. I always thought it was like a great way to keep people involved and make sure that, but it is tough. It's a time constraint at the bare minimum. So when you're trying to run a tight, concise show, get things over at a reasonable time, you got to find ways to make it work. And I think the Chicago style deal does exactly that.
Sure.
Additional info on Little Gangsters. We've got over 50 cars registered for this deal already.
Has been insane since we announced it. Absolutely insane.
I think it's more.
It's crazy, man. It speaks
World Series
to
World Series of Little Gangsters.
I about ordered a necklace off of that Trophy Smack or whatever that says, you can put your like logo there. I about put World Series of Little Gangsters. I mean, I lost another bet. I forgot about that. I lost a bet to Michael Pollan. You guys know what betting a U Daddy is? No, yeah, I didn't either. I saw his text
before you bet it.
You want to bet a U Daddy? And I was like, oh hell, I was just assuming it was $100, And next day I'm like, hey man, you want me to Venmo? He's like, you don't know what a U Daddy is? Call Tom. So I called Tom. Yeah, I guess whenever he says anything, I gotta be like if he says who's the baddest son bitch in the world, I gotta be like, you Daddy. Yeah, like I don't know how long that lasts though. I guess does that last until if he's on here? Does that last until we make another bet or what?
Oh man, I think I would want to get some sort of timeline on that deal like immediately. Dude.
Well, I didn't know what it was, Wes.
Oh, true. Well, now that you do, I would be establishing that timeline.
Yeah, I'm ready. We're gonna rock the chains, man.
Oh, we're gonna rock the chains.
Got some
no
coming.
Doubt. Now, I'm excited to see the addition of Little Gangsters. I think this is going to bring like a bunch of new energy and new eyes to pro mod drag racing. And this has really been a big part of what we've been trying to do now for 20 years is demonstrate that this is a community of people that's at its strongest when we're all kind of paying attention to the same things and supporting the same things and working together anywhere we're afforded an opportunity to do so. And that's what I think we see happening here is like the small tire, the leading stakeholders, the leading personalities, the leading brands in small tire drag racing opting to work with us and bring those worlds together at World Series of Pro Mod. Man, there's going to be a whole bunch of YouTuber racers, a bunch of these guys that have huge followings online that are going to be exposed to the best drag racing has to offer at the World Series of Pro Mod. And it's
some guys that we got coming.
Oh my goodness.
Let's throw out some names off the entry list.
Hold on. I'm going to have to go pull it up. You kind of caught me off guard there, Michael.
Sorry.
Little Gangsters.
Jimmy Dale said he's got 80 cars.
Michael Corley, Scotty Taylor, that's a big one. Frederick Thompson, Jeff Blom, John Sally, Jason Mack, George Cunningham, Tyler DeSantis, Cooper Baghetti. I'm trying to look through some of these other names here. Alex Corella, Charles Johnson.
Coming, right?
Who?
The old man.
The old man. We're seeing, 80 car Little Gangster field, says Jimmy Deal. We're going to have to start running on Wednesday. You're going to give Vic a heart attack.
What about
James Tall, Cooper Baghetti?
Jordan DaCosta, our guy, our local foot soldier there in Bradenton. It's been helping us out a lot. I think he's going to enter, right?
Yeah, man. He's entering the little S10. He's going to have to jet that bad boy up a little bit. I asked him how many.
I think Lyle's entering
fill
this
it up
as well. Might as well. He's in every class we have.
Yeah,
so.
we don't want Lyle to feel left out of any class.
No, we got to make sure Lyle's got something to race in Little Gangsters, man. But I'm excited about it. New vendors. We got a couple of new ones. I think Fifth Third Bank is going to be there, which we're excited about. Local partner.
JT bets, maybe
Zyn nicotine products.
Right
Zyn nicotine pouches are going to be on the property. We've brought in a bunch of food vendors, which I think is exciting. We're going to have some additional food trucks and all those type of things. Some of your typical carnival food wares. Real American Beer is coming out with their branded van, promo girls, free product, swag. So we're going to have a big presence there from Real American Beer.
Turbo, Fuel Tech, UPR, Big Hat
Double O Shit Show,
Florida
Florida
Performance.
Is not going to be there. His he will be there, but his vendor is help backed out on him, so he's not going to the vend. But
he's literally been asking me about that since World Series last year.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, we got a lot going on.
We do, man. You can't. We've got so much going on that it's hard to stay on top of it, to be honest with you. Very shocked. You think people are paid to spend money and not knowing. Connor Glasser asking about Top Dragster and Top Sportsman. They're getting close. I think honestly, just we didn't do announcements for all of those invitations for all those categories. So it kind of just changed the dynamic a little bit, but it's one of those things that we'll kind of evolve from and learn from as we go and see how we want to do things different as we move forward. You know, what we're really trying to build is a rubric for that we can use across all three races. That's what we're really looking for, is creating a rubric or a format that we could use. These are our classes. These are the classes that are contested at the Winter Series, and each one leave the door open for a special involvement by somebody. Like at World Series of Pro Mod, that special involvement is little Gangsters. We're bringing in this kind of outside thing and bringing worlds together. And I think that's, I know that that's what we want to create, because one of the questions that we're going to attack a little later just kind of talks about looking forward and what comes next. And I really want to establish these are our classes. For the World Series of Pro Mod, we've got $150,000 to win Pro Modified, $25,000 to win Pro 10.5, $25,000 to win Mountain Motor Pro Stock, $50,000 to win Top Sportsman, $50,000 to win Top Dragster, and $10,000 on top of the car count for Little Gangsters. So we got a serious drag race, as well as $5,000 to win, I believe, in Super Pro. And Vinny Badano, I do not believe it's full yet. It's close. We have a cap on that as well. But yeah, man.
Barbecue,
so,
I think McCurdy's Barbecue. That's what we had. We had Wolves Head Pizza and McCurdy's Barbecue. Is that correct? In the VIP,
that's correct.
For the racing party. Yeah, I hope he's there again. That barbecue is really good. I don't usually eat stuff like that, but
very rarely, right? Let's switch gears here a little bit and talk about some, a shot heard around the world earlier this week. Talking about, this is a good one here. Wrong question. What impact will the new Bellemere Boggs Bartone A-Fuel funny car have on Top Alcohol funny car? We spend so much time talking about Pro Mod. I'm actually excited to have the opportunity to talk about something else. For those that don't know, earlier in the week, we saw a incredible performance from the aforementioned Bellemere Beers Boggs Bartone A-Fuel funny car.
That's a tongue twister.
It is. That is a tongue twister right there, dude. But seeing a Top Alcohol car click off a seemingly effortless 5.2 second run. I think it went 5:28, 5:21. I can't remember exactly what the best it ran was. I've got to pull up this note, but
I think it went to 28.
Holy moly, man. I mean, you're talking about a brand new combination, essentially. I mean, we saw the first one of these debuted, via Randy Meyer last year. And within a year, we're seeing them rival the performance of combinations that have been running for years and years and years and years and years. So definitely an eye opener and perhaps a sign of things to come. I do think that if anything can inject some new life and some new energy into Top Alcohol racing, I think it's welcome, right? We've seen the Top Alcohol dragster category kind of become this breeding ground, so to speak, for all the next up and coming big name talent, right? We've seen a lot of drivers kind of go from A-Fuel directly into Top Fuel and make a splash. And I think seeing the A-Fuel combination in funny car, that may kind of swing the door open for some of that more natural, organic transition from Top Alcohol funny car to Nitro funny car. Mike, do you think that that's accurate or a potential outcome, or is it too unique,
I think so.
Oddball of a combo?
Yeah. I don't see why that wouldn't hold true. I mean, the only concern I would have is that we've seen a Top Alcohol dragster really just turn into an ejected Nitro class. There's only a handful of those guys still running
correct
the blown combination. And so I wonder, is that going to kind of take over funny car now? And that's been like the lone reprieve of where guys that are, tried and true with the screw blown combo sort of hang their hat. And are we going to see that swing back the other way now? And what will NHRA do on a parity standpoint? Like, I'm really not 100% as familiar with how they maintain parity between those combinations the way that like we do in Pro Mod typically. I know they have ways to do it, fuel temperature or whatever they do, but it seems like they don't adjust that much. And it kind of seems like NHRA's allowed it to kind of just play out organically without stepping in too much. And I just wonder, I could totally be wrong and just speaking, with a lack of knowledge on this, but I just see anytime you introduce a class and you have multiple combinations in it, now you've got to police it. And so how will that work? And we'll see. But I do think it's going to add some interest to it. And I think someone made a interesting comment here. I'd love to see A-Fuel engines allowed in Pro Mod. That is kind of an interesting concept. We've seen the Top Fuel Pro Mod attempts that these guys have made, and maybe that's some kind of stepping stone to that. But that's certainly an interesting thought. We haven't seen that, and I don't know what the mechanical logistics of that would look like, but certainly interesting. And I think you'll see, I mean, do you think you'll see that these guys, like the Boggs Tune team, continue to dominate? Will we see new people come over in there and try their hand at it now that this combination's allowed? Are we going to see a wider range of tuners, drivers, people switching back and forth? Like, is it just going to open up that crossover between top alcohol dragster and top alcohol funny car?
I don't know, man. I think it's a really interesting question, because I feel because top alcohol funny cars had some struggles for a while, right? Like we've had, C to Shining C, various sanctions and series, various payouts, various quarter mile or racing formats, right? Quarter mile versus eighth mile. We've seen both struggle to generate enthusiasm or real excitement around it. And so I'm hoping, I think if there's one thing, for sure that could come out of this, is just people talking about this style of racing and seeing it in the news. And, some of these classes have gotten, it's become so much about, like, they haven't promoted the personalities, they haven't promoted the stars. And so much of the onus has been put on, the ETs, the speeds, the body styles, the engine
I feel like
combinations.
Top Alcohol Funny Car was popular and badass, like in the 90s. I mean, I used to seek out to watch that class and some of the names and people that ran it, and it kind of had an identity that was all its own. And then I feel like some of it has just been the performance increases we've seen in Pro Mod. We talked about this last year. I think what brought it up was Todd Moyer's test pass at Bradenton, where what did he run? 518 on that early shutoff pass in the Pro Mod at Bradenton.
Oh, who are you talking about? Todd Moyer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fact that was quicker than these alcohol funny cars are running. I think they need something to increase the performance of them to separate from Pro Mod a little bit. I think that is, if I could point to one thing that is sort of encroached on that class, is that a lot of these Pro Mods in an unlimited situation are right on their heels or even running quicker than them.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it didn't help their cause whenever Todd Moyer, went 514 at 273. You're going, holy crap, you've got a car here that is a suspended door car with left-hand steer, outrunning top alcohol funny cars. So that was definitely a problem. Hopefully this is a step back in the right direction. And maybe, like I said, I think a lot of times Bill Hoskinson said this about Little Gangsters and 530 Index. I see a comment here about like to see a little more love toward the index cars like 550 and 470. And sometimes what it takes is somebody waving that flag and getting excited about that, because that excitement is infectious, and it starts to spread. And I just know that we haven't seen this kind of talk around top alcohol funny car probably since last year when Julian Natas came out behind the wheel of that experimental primered funny car of Randy Myers in Texas. That was really the last thing that I remember people really, really talking about, and being, it kind of crossing over and transcending just the NHRA sportsman ranks or the Midwest Drag Racing Series funny car ranks, right? Something that's, crossed to the sport. So I have to believe that's, a positive. My question is the thing that I'm kind of waiting for is along those same lines of, when do we see that injected nitro combination make its way competitively into a door slammer? I don't think that's that terribly far away. We saw Jeff Wooten try to do it seemingly 100 years ago in ADRL Pro Extreme competition. He came out at Houston, I believe it was, with an injected nitro combination, and it was making all sorts of racket, and it was a super cool deal. I think that's probably the next thing that we're going to see start to get perfected, because I would be shocked to see that not make its way into Pro Mod in the relatively near future. Policing it, containing it, all those things that come with having nitro cars on the property is probably the big concern. or at least
It's
that would
currently
be my
banned.
initial
And
reaction
at World
to
Series of Pro Mod. Right
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know,
For the
it's
foreseeable
currently
future.
banned.
Let's clean up a few of these questions here in the comments here. Is Top Sportsman still winner take all?
Yes.
Yes. Is there a cap on Pro Mod for qualifying? Yes. We only invite, it's invitational only. So
Yeah. And 32 cars qualify.
oh, there's a good one. Is there going to be a practice tree shootout, the World Series of Pro Mod?
Michael Hollis. Yep.
I
Let's put
mean,
it together.
I could throw the tree in, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Throw the tree in, JT.
Yep.
We'll have a
what
track
else we got
practice
here?
tree competition Thursday night.
Where did your KC hat go? I still got plenty of them. I just was going to cowboy up this week, so I wore the Lane Frost. What else?
That's
we got?
another. You had to pay Peter.
No, he had to pay me.
Oh, that's right. No, he had to pay you. That's right. He bet on
Yeah.
Buffalo. I forgot.
Yep. Okay. We got
Is that
anything
it?
here? Turbo funny car.
There have
That's
been
not-
turbo funny cars in the past,
Yeah.
and that's, you know,
My gosh, there's a lot of comments in here.
I know, dude.
I'll tell you
there
right
were
now,
so
man,
many just
the
flooding in here.
Nitro Pro Mod thing is going to happen. And I think we've got to kind of decide, you know, how we want it to happen. Because like Kevin Kinsley already is down here, you know, running. I think they've been like a high 360 or a low 370 with a nitro car, a blown nitro combination with, and it's like a lower percentage of nitro, but it's still a nitro car. We've already seen that combination start to run good with a torque converter, you know, and who knows how much it has left in it. We've seen Scott Palmer say right here that he, on this very program, that he's not sure that it would ever be faster than like a blown alcohol combo. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I do think for this sheer spectacle of it, perhaps it should be embraced. But that's, I mean, how cool would it be within the next few years to have an injected nitro car in the you know, in the field, and or like a turbo pro mod, or excuse me, a turbo import. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that getting more and more of these unique combinations in one place at one time would be absolutely badass. Points for Winter Series, are they 1.5 points? Yes.
Wait,
Well, hold on.
Jason's
Just-
doing the-
oh,
Jason's
yeah,
doing
Marlon Lincoln. Yes, we are having a party Thursday night, driver's party, and then you know pretty much everybody on the property is invited to come out. So might be a good time to do the practice tree race. We are going to have junior dragsters running their complete all their eliminations while we are probably partaking in adult beverages and betting on them.
Yes, I'm excited about it, man. I really am. I don't know if
Did
anybody
we
asked
decide
the
about
junior
this right
race,
here? Connor Glazer's got a question right here.
Would you quit hitting buttons?
What's up?
God
What the hell's going on with this?
Can you double enter same car Super Pro and Top Dragster? No, but you can. I believe the thing is you can drop down if you don't qualify in Top Dragster.
I think that's probably what he was asking in
Yeah.
a roundabout way. Leah
Points
Treen.
for the
Pull that one up.
points for the Winter Series. Are they 1.5? Can you only catch Kenny Q?
For World Series, they are 1.5. So yes, there's quite a few people that can catch Kenny Q. And in fact, Gavin did a awesome breakdown for us of what can happen. And we need to pull that up because it's some great scenarios about basically what needs to happen for Ken to lock it up, or what needs to happen, you know, for Ken go out early for anyone else to be able to catch him. And there's only a handful of people I think that can
And
actually.
that's probably why Kai was trying to
it
get us to call outs for round
Oh,
one.
it 100% is.
Yeah,
That's what those guys do
Yep.
in NPK is when, like, I think Kai even did that when he knew he had to take Ryan Martin out early to win the championship a couple years ago. He called out Ryan to try to get that done. I got to find that deal.
You know,
I got to find that deal from Gavin. See if we can dig that up.
It's
I was trying to
ballsy.
dig it
It's
up
smart,
right
but ballsy, right? Because I mean, you're kind of like you're going for the championship at that point. But
If we
but
saw,
also,
if
you
you
know,
remember,
I want someone else to take that guy out before you have to face him. Right?
well, it's just like putting fate in your own hands.
It
And
is.
one of the craziest things we ever saw was Greg Anderson did that in NHRA Pro Stock at Pomona a handful of years ago, when his only hope to beat Erica was to take
her
Erica
out in the first
round. And so he successfully through qualifying,
laid up,
manipulated it, laid up
Mhm.
to put himself in the 16th position so that he could race Erica first round, which is still one of the wildest things I think I've ever seen. Didn't work out, but it was a hell of an effort.
Yeah, I mean, you got to try, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But
what a deal,
it's not,
right?
it wasn't.
That
It's not. Wasn't just a call out. I mean, this is traditional NHRA racing, and he had to put himself on the ladder in that spot, which was pretty wild.
It is pretty wild. I don't know. Like, could you do that again? That was impressive, right? I mean, it was not well received universally, that's for sure. But it was definitely an interesting thing. And that's part of the reason that I didn't want to introduce call outs at World Series of Pro Mod. We had several drivers reach out and inquire about maybe introducing a call out thing for first round at World Series. But I also, the last thing you want is, it's already enough of it is by chance. I don't want to introduce this component that could, possibly make it seem that there was any sort of shady shit going on, right? Like, because you see that. I mean, we would see that in the Street Outlaw No Prep Kings deal all the time, right? Somebody knew they were broke, so a teammate would call them out or whatever, various things like that. And I just don't want to go down that.
It was pretty bad.
It was pretty rough, man.
What else?
Here, I've got more questions. JT got me. Hey, real quick, guys, let's pay some bills and remind everybody that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to stroudsafety.com today and make sure you tell them we sent you. JT,
I found those scenarios. Do you want to run through a couple of those?
Yeah, let's run through them.
So if Ken does not qualify, you pretty much have to have the point standings up to make this make sense. But if Ken Q does not qualify, Cam Hensley and up have a theoretical chance to win. So I don't know where he's at on the list. If Ken qualifies, everyone below Ryan Hayward on the point standings is eliminated. And again, just for context, go to thewinnerseries.com, go to point standings, and we have all that updated there. If Ken wins round one, everyone below Travis Harvey is eliminated. I think Travis Harvey's like 5th or 6th right now. Travis would have to win the race and out-qualify Ken by 5 spots. If Ken wins round 2, everyone but Kai is eliminated. So if Ken, that's kind of your story right there. If he wins 2 rounds of eliminations, everyone except Kai Kelly is eliminated. And then if Ken loses in the semis, Kai can still win the championship if he wins the race and out-qualifies Ken by 18 spots. And if Ken qualifies within 17 spots of Kai, he would have to win in the quarterfinals to secure the championship. So really, to me, the story is if Ken goes 2 rounds, it's over.
Wow. And I mean, I'm telling you, man, the guy's on a roll. What'd we start calling him last week? Buzzsaw. I mean, and that is exactly
Serial
what
killer.
He has been.
Serial killer.
I don't think that's a well liked.
He didn't like that. He didn't like that.
I'm leaning into Buzzsaw.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, because you're not being called serial killer.
The points pulled up in front of me. But it really, I mean, to me, the scenarios break down to where it's really down to probably steady anybody like 5th and above in points right now. And it's really, in a lot of ways, it's Ken's to lose, obviously. And Kai has the only logical shot at it, because you just got to think, unless something crazy happens, Ken's going to win.
You never know.
Ken's going to win around. But with the chip draw, you never know. He could go out qualify number 1 and draw the number 2 qualifier.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, man. I mean, there's no doubt that I think that, as we said at the beginning of the show, the door is wide open for someone to come in here and make a name for themselves on the back of this race alone.
We've seen a lot of big time cars and fast cars and that come to this race and don't qualify too. I mean, the field is tough.
Oh, so simply qualifying for it, I think
we're going to send home. We're going to send home like 2 or 3 fields worth of quality cars for any other regional or local type Pro Mod series.
Oh, I mean, that's the thing is, I don't think we talk about it enough, is like how crazy this whole deal actually is. Like, if you really think about having 80 of the baddest drivers on the planet Earth, baddest race cars on the planet Earth, all in one place at the one time, I mean, it's absolutely incredible, man. I mean, it's when I go through that list and look at these names, I'm just beside myself that this is actually even happening. Because, like, when I look at it through the lens of just starting Drag Illustrated, Mike, you remember this almost 20 years ago, you and I getting to know each other, and like there was these whole world of pro mod guys that existed completely independent of one another, right? There was the West Coast contingent, the East Coast guys, the big dog guys, the Northeast guys, the Florida guys, the Midwest contingent. There was a whole world of guys in Ohio, Illinois, Indiana. Then you had a whole slew of people in Texas that kind of raced amongst themselves. And when we first started the magazine, I mean, just doing stories on a sport that is international was a real challenge, because you had to go to 100 different tracks to see different racers.
That was the goal, right? To try to bring it all together and unite it, and at least provide coverage for some of these series that don't get it. But in that's a task, man. I think we found out early on, especially like almost pre-internet. It seems like pre-internet. I mean, the internet was like barely functional at that time. Yeah. That it was damn near impossible to compile the data or even just get photos or get them sent to you that you needed to tell the story. And that's gotten a lot easier. And I think maybe what happened, I feel like at that time, there was kind of a universal rule set for Pro Mod. There was really just Pro Mod. You had things like Big Dog or whatever that were a little bit different, but then it split off. And then it was Pro Nitrous, Pro Extreme, no rules, this, that, and it really fragmented. And we're still kind of, I don't say recovering from that, but what we're trying to do with World Series of Pro Mod is bring it all back together. One rule set, all combinations, one place for all these guys that race in all these individual series to run together. And so it kind of goes back to, like, if we could have had a race like this when we started Drag Illustrated, and we just went to that one race to cover it, or that one series of races where we knew all the hitters were going to be there, this would have been our dream. So it's like a full circle deal.
If you look at it from a content creator's perspective, you're going to be able to go to Bradenton first weekend in March, February 27th through March 1st, and you're going to see essentially anybody who's anybody. I mean, across the board, whatever hitter you want to see, they're going to be there. And I think that is just a crazy big opportunity, and probably part of the reason that we get so much participation from media, not only local regional media, but also international media, regional, national media outlets, and all these various, drag racing specific content creators and media channels. I mean, they can get a lot of work done, right? I mean, you can go to one location and see a whole lot of different stars from a whole lot of different places and different walks of life. So there's a lot of stories to be told.
There's a couple that won't say our name.
Oh yeah, there's a handful that still won't say our name.
Here's another question: have you ever considered expanding the field?
His profile pic checks out. Look at that.
Yeah, ZZ Top. So we met. What was the guy's name from ZZ Top one time? And he comes up and one of our sales guys, Will, he goes up to give him a fist bump. Oh man, and Will's a musician. He's like, and the guy goes up to give him a fist bump and then pulls back about 3 inches from his fist and goes, Bluetooth.
He wasn't about.
That was
it was Billy Gibbons, and he wasn't about to something.
This was pre-COVID too. He was ahead of the curve.
He was ahead of the curve.
No contact. It was a no contact fist bump.
To answer the question, fun thing to talk about, ZZ Top fan, going to a 64 car field, 6 rounds of racing is, I don't know. I trust me, I like the idea. The problem is always that you make some big crazy jump like that and it quickly becomes unsustainable, right? I mean, a 32 car field is something that I feel we've been down this road.
Right? We have experience doing this.
Yes. And I can tell you from past experience, you have to resist the urge, because I've had 1,000 people ask me about, well, why not just run everybody, or why not just run 64 cars? It's because you start to set precedents that you're not able to live up to long term. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, I believe that we're going to be able to sustain and maintain this for many, 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 many years to come. But I want to keep it in the growth part of our life cycle as long as humanly possible. And it's tough. I mean, because there is a part of me that's going, okay, you do 2 races that are 32 car fields, one that's a 64 car field, but it just, then you're trying to put so much, it's a virtual impossibility.
It's human nature too, man. You make it 64 cars and then 66 show up and only 2 are going home and everyone's racing. Then all of a sudden it's a little less special, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I made the field, but they expanded to 64. You do have to like resist the urge and just know yourself as a human being and know others as human beings.
It's almost a race before a race just to qualify, right?
That's the goal, right? I mean,
really,
that is.
We saw that when I guess it was probably, what was the first race? It was at Snowbirds, you know, when Kai's crew was over there talking and somebody caught it on tape, you know, they're like, Jesus, you know, we slid down this far just in qualifying at the last session. You know, this is like running the championship in No Prep Kings, you know.
And that is the environment we want. And it is hard because I talk to so many of these racers. I talk to them on a regular basis. Many of these guys and gals are my friends, people that we've had long-standing relationships with. And I saw a comment in the chat earlier, somebody saying, I wish they could all win. And I feel the exact same way. I wish they could all win. I wish they could all qualify number one. But it's not what we do. We know the nature of our business. It's the race business, right? And there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. There are going to be qualifiers and there's going to be non-qualifiers. And I think that just owning that, leaning into it instead of leaning away from it, it's so easy. Like we see it all the time. And it's funny because in our culture, like it's this whole, everybody wants to poo-poo on the participation trophy. But when it comes to their game, they want a participation trophy. Hey, we came all this way. We should get to race. And I understand that, but it starts to impact the excitement and the energy that's around something when it becomes, like you said, Mike, it's just a little less special. So we've wanted to create that.
Great comment right here explaining that the same thing you're talking about as well. So
yeah, exactly. Joel Mathis, is that who you're talking about? Or no? 32 cars is plenty. It makes everyone be on their game right out of the box. All run fields are horrible and diminish the event. I couldn't agree more with Jim on this one. And I think that you just have to, you've got to, like we keep saying, is resist the urge. Because what I think we've created with these three races is that every round is consequential. And if you look at every qualifying round is consequential.
That answers the question up here. Chad Pointer says qualifying is where the call out should take place. We've actually done that in the past and experimented with that. But now we're finding that this deal's so tense and every round matters, even qualifying, that these guys they're hesitant to even do the call outs or want to run against their rival or do anything that may put them off their game of making the cleanest run, ticking that bottom bulb on, doing everything that they could do to get every ounce of ET out of these cars in qualifying and where they may run in the qualifying order. That's been hard to do. It's hard to get guys to even pay it or, participate in that because they're like, man, I got to get everything out of every qualifying run just to make this field or, to prepare for elimination. So this stuff's gotten crazy intense, really, really quickly.
It really has.
And we're seeing that in some of the behavior of our racers.
I do think,
Scott, do you think that you had any influence on the NHRA increasing their purses?
Couldn't hurt, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it couldn't hurt. I mean, I think that
between the pro race last year and the big payouts, that was, and then the DI Winter Series. I mean, how could it not?
I mean, if you want me to like go on a full blown West tirade,
sure.
I'll tell you.
There you go. There you go. Boom.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that I think that what this group of people are doing here at Drag Illustrated, at Bradenton Motorsports Park, and a host of others, is there's just quite a bit of people that are really focused on growing and building our sport, not preserving it, not maintaining the status quo, but elevating this sport. And I think that is something that has not really been the case for the last several years. I think there's been a whole lot of focus on getting by and continuing to do what we've always done, but that doesn't excite me. It doesn't excite any of the people around me. I want to see our sport, grow and be exposed to more people. When I think about the sport of drag racing, you guys probably get tired of hearing me say it, but I truly see the great American motorsport, something that's easy to understand and happens fast and is visceral and exciting and dramatic and all these different things. It's mechanical. It hits you from a bunch of different angles. I mean, if you're a fan of the driver, you're in your emotions, you're in your feels about the outcome of the race. If you're a gearhead or a car guy or gal, you're wound up by the mechanics and the technical marvel that's on display. Like, this sport ticks so many boxes, and perhaps none more so than the fact that it's pretty much the only place that men and women can compete against one another on a level playing field. I mean, we were just talking about our picks to win, and the names that are getting thrown out are Melanie Salemi and Erica Enders, and I think that there's something really, really cool about that. I mean, we're talking about the impact that Amber Franklin Denton has had on the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. I think it's super special, and as the father of a 10-year-old girl, I think it's really, really encouraging that, especially in this world we're living in today, where there's a lot of confusion and a lot of disdain around this type of thing, this is a place where Erica Enders can compete against Jason Scruggs. That's cool. where Marcus Butner can compete against Melanie Salemi and do so on a level playing field. So when I see all the opportunity and all the value that our sport provides, I think the biggest thing that we've done and we're trying to do, and it's, I suppose, up to your own interpretation whether or not it's happening or not, but I do think we're just forcing this entire community to up our game. We don't compare ourselves here at Drag Illustrated. We don't compare ourselves to other racing publications. We don't compare ourselves to other racing media outlets. We compare ourselves to Fox. We compare ourselves to ESPN. We compare ourselves to Barstool, to Bleacher Report. We look to the leaders in these spaces to measure ourselves against, and we do much the same when it comes to our events. I watch the Super Bowl, probably one of the largest and most expensive sports productions that happens on the planet Earth, and I'm literally watching it like a student, saying, what can we learn from this? What can we borrow from this? What can we, adapt to what we do? And I think that for the longest time, drag race promoters, drag race event organizers, a lot of the people, all we did was kind of look around at one another, and we didn't get out of our own way. We didn't go expose ourselves to new ideas, a new way of doing things. I mean, what do they say? The most dangerous words in the English language are because that's how we've always done it. I think that's something that's happened and existed in our sport for decades, is that this is just how we've always done it. And I mean, we still get some pushback, like the way we turn the clocks off during testing at Drag Illustrated Winter Series events. That's something that we hear constant complaints about, right? But we're not going to change it. Just because that's always how it's always been done doesn't mean that's the only way to do it or the right way to do it. We like there to be some air of mystery around testing. It's supposed to be private testing. You're not supposed to have everyone know what you ran. You're not supposed to be able to measure yourself against all these people that you're about to have to compete against. That's not the way it's supposed to work. And so we changed that. And we've made no bones about it. We changed it. We made our events winner take all. That's not traditional at all. But we knew in order to get some real emotion and to create the momentum required to turn someone into a household name like we have with Spencer Hyde and Mike Bowman and Carl Stevens and Derek Ward and everybody else, is you've got to create big consequences. The stakes got to be really high. Right. And so we've made that conscious decision. That's historically not how it has been done. And I think that, to that question that JT pulled up a moment ago, like, do we think that we've had an impact on the NHRA increasing their purses? I hope that we've had an impact on everybody in this community to do more, do better, try harder, hold ourselves to higher standards, hold ourselves to the standards that are set in other sports. And that, to me, is the magic of this, is that just the effort, the energy that comes from trying to improve, chasing a North Star or some sort of proverbial next level. I think people get tired of hearing that phrase, the next level. I do. I get tired of hearing it, but we've got to be chasing something. We can't just be focused on preservation and building museums and trying to keep tracks open. I mean, that's not exciting. Who wants to try to keep tracks open? I want to keep tracks thriving, right? I mean, we need to focus less on survival and more on how to make sure these places thrive. And I think that I hope that we've had that kind of impact on the sport. I know that I've seen NHRA ramp up the way they dress up their events. I know I had some people from NHRA tell me that, like, hey, we're going to steal your wheel on the way you decorate at these events and dress the house. We're going to borrow some of that, right? I mean, I've seen the PDRA, Midwest Drag Racing Series, everybody kind of start adding some bells and whistles to their production. I'm seeing more and more events we incorporate music into what they do at their drag races. We're seeing more and more behind the scenes content, which is something that we've driven the bus on for nearly 2 decades, is telling the stories of these men and women. And I'm seeing more of that and more of that and more of that. I think in recent years, what we're seeing the most, and I had this conversation with Jess from ET Edits earlier in the week, is that we're seeing drivers being a lot more forward with their personality and creating content. And I think that's something that we've really tried to push and encourage people to do, is to tell their stories and to talk to the camera and engage their audience, engage their fan base, engage the friends and people that support their racing endeavors. So yeah, I mean, I like to think that we're putting some pressure on this whole deal. Right? I mean, Mike, JT, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but I think across the board, we're trying to up the ante. That's what our daily operating procedure is. How can we up the ante?
No doubt.
I think, yeah. I think you covered it all right there.
Yeah.
That's a deep dive.
It was a deep dive, but it's true.
I went to the fridge and got me a beer. I've been drinking.
I mean, I just think lately that sometimes I don't say those things enough. is that that's got to be the goal of this whole group of people, is to try to elevate our sport. I mean, that's why we try to highlight people the way that we do, whether it's the Women of Power issue, whether it's the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30, whether it's Racer of the Year awards or our Hall of Fame, or the way we do the invites with the Pro Mod races. I mean, all these things, it's about elevating our sport and presenting it in a modern light, right? That we're not, I mean, that's why you don't hear classic rock at Drag Illustrated Winter Series events, right? We wonder why young people don't come.
Tell them to turn it off.
Yeah. I mean, if I hear classic rock, DJ John is getting,
you gotta watch what you call classic rock now that we're getting older, though, man. It's all
what is that?
Is Creed classic rock? Creed and Nickelback?
Wait a second. How's that classic rock now?
No, I mean, it's, and I think that Dana Turner here, if you get a chance to go to a Savannah Bananas game at their stadium in Savannah, you can definitely feel the experience. I think that that's, I've read, the owner of the Savannah Bananas wrote a book called Fans First, and it's a fantastic book. And he talks throughout it about how at their season opener, the first year that he and his wife had bought the Savannah Bananas, renamed the team and all these things, it rained out their first game of the season, or it poured rain right as they opened the gates and have people piling in. And it was cool the way he saw that as an opportunity to entertain these people without playing baseball. He's like, okay, if we can keep them happy while we're not able to play baseball, we're on to something. So he had players out there on slip and slides, making messes, running around. It's
almost
in the
like
mud.
the best thing that could happen to him, because he learned from that moment and like developed this whole new concept. But I don't want it to rain. No rain at our events. No rain.
You can't hardly get a ticket to it.
Not on wood.
No, I mean, I know that they've got like a 1 million person waiting list or something.
They do.
They have this whole.
We tried. We tried to get tickets, and it was impossible.
It's like a 9-step process. It's harder to get tickets to that than like Taylor Swift or anything.
Oh, it's incredible, dude. But it's like an experience. You want to be able to tell people that you've been to a Savannah Bananas game. Like it's a whole thing. And it has very little to do with who won the game or what the score was or how many home runs somebody hit. It's going to the game. And I think that that's more where our sport has to head. Is creating an experience from start to finish that goes beyond what happens on the racetrack, What
about some more of these?
I said Mike likes bananas, but he makes eye contact with you when he eats them, and it just weirds me out. It's awful.
It would weird me out too.
My bad. I'll look away next time.
What do you got, Mike? You gonna dive into another question?
No.
My God, you gotta see this classic rock they've listed off here. We have a whole playlist in the comments.
Yeah, we got it, man. Some of these questions though that we had on this list that were submitted kind of tie in with what you were saying. I thought we might as well just hit those while we're going down this list.
Yeah.
What is DI BMP going to do to keep the Drag Illustrated World Series at the forefront until December? And what can we expect from DI as we celebrate our 20th anniversary? I think both of those you covered kind of a lot of this stuff in your rant just now, but what are some things we haven't even gotten past our third race yet, but we do plan to take a little bit of a low-key approach through the summer, recover a little bit, but then it's on us quickly. We always talk about fall and winter, how quickly it comes with just the amount of races that are stacked at that time of year, preparing for the off season, the trade shows. So what are we thinking as far as how do we promote this and how do we build on this to make it even bigger next year?
It kind of promotes itself, doesn't it? I mean,
it really does.
The racing is so good and everybody is so ready. So when the season starts in all the different sanctioning bodies, everybody's on their A game. I mean, they're ready. They're chomping at the bit. They're ready to go. I think it just brings the level of racing up everywhere. And then everybody's ready.
I think for us going into the 2025 like traditional race season, I'm excited about the opportunity to follow our roster of drivers as they embark on their various campaigns, right? Like we're going to have a slew of these guys go compete for championships in PDRA or go compete for championships in the Midwest Drag Racing Series or the NHRA Pro Mod Series or what have you. Go see Erica Enders chase another world championship in Pro Stock. Go see Antron Brown try to go back-to-back in Top Fuel. And I know that what I aspire to do is to continue to follow these men and women's journey throughout 2025 and start for the first time for us is piece together those two seasons and what happened, which during the season, which is technically our off season, right? The winter series off season, like go examine all these storylines and who has momentum so that when December rolls around, we've got some like really developed storylines heading into the second Drag Illustrated Winter Series season. So I'm excited about that. And I think that some of that that's just a hard work thing. Like that's the biggest thing that I can tell everybody when it comes to promoting these things is you just can't stop ever. You can't let your foot off the gas ever. I mean, it is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to tell the story of what you're doing and in a variety of different ways, right? Whether that's putting postcards under windshield wipers and parking lots or going on podcasts or posting stories to websites and social media. I mean, you kind of got to be as many places as you possibly can and never really slow down. So I think we will be tasked this summer with kind of keeping these storylines going, you know, and seeing how people are going to, new cars, new faces. I think we're going to continue to see some new people trickle into the Pro Mod ranks. That'll probably be the big story is who's next. I mean, we saw Erica Enders dive in, Antron Brown dive in, Kai Kelly dive in, Sean Murder, Nova Ellington dive in. I mean, who's going to be next to dive into the shark-infested waters that are pro modified drag racing, you know?
David Wright says,
I guess you guys can do all
So-
that. I was going to try to take a vacation.
Yeah,
this
so we need some. He said that Wes needs some more sun, so we probably ought to have a summer race.
100%.
And then your wife asked if you will wear sunscreen for the World Series of Pro Mod.
I will not wear sunscreen at the World Series of Pro Mod. David Wright, I do think we need a summer race, primarily for the opportunity to get some sun, you know, to catch a good base burn, you know, to kind of roll through fall and winter.
Maybe you could make that as a vendor, David, if we let you know now that we're going to.
You know what? I'm going to get some private labeled Wes Buck sunscreen made, I guess, and sell it.
It's called toner.
Yeah, true. Alicia's asking, will there be a new Winter Circle playlist? No, man, I made that playlist in 2017 in Denver, Colorado. I've not added anything to it. Those are the songs.
I'll take care of that while he's taking pictures.
Okay, fair enough.
Michael wants to know if the winner of the World Series of Pro Mod takes home the Wes. Michael wants a trophy made of Wes.
I think you guys are gonna have to wait till I
we need
die,
that's exactly what we need.
I don't know. I'm not prepared to have a trophy modeled after me. I don't know about that. I'm not.
What about our 20th anniversary? This is something that we've got to start really accepting. That Steel's been that Drag Illustrated will have been around for 20 years. What's the exact date?
October 2025 will be officially 20 years of Drag Illustrated, and it's kind of hard to believe, man. I think about everything.
The gray hair starting to tell the story.
I mean, it's
here
when I tell people how long we've been doing this, they typically think I'm joking. You know, when I tell them that we've been doing it for 20 years, and I'm proud of it, probably more so than anything else. I think we really need to go crazy at PRI. I don't know what all that entails or what kind of, you know, spin we could put on it, but
every person that comes to the booth gets $20.
Yeah. Okay. That's going to be painful.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. But no, I mean, 20 years of doing this, there's some of these people that we work with now that are just barely 20 years old. And I think about having done this since they were little kids or just born, and it's kind of terrifying.
Most people don't realize this though. And we've kind of realized this ourselves over the last handful of years. I think through doing this show as our website has grown and social media, and then now doing these events, doing the PRI stuff, like we always kind of thought of ourselves as Drag Illustrated magazine. And we feel like everyone that subscribes to the magazine knows about our events and knows about the website, and like everyone is all in on all the different things we do, but it's actually but somewhat segmented, where some people that go to our events may not go to the website, or people that go to the website don't subscribe to the magazine, or people that watch this show don't follow us on, go to the races, whatever the case is. So we're kind of reaching people in these different areas, and I feel like we're reaching new people all the time that don't realize we've been doing this for 20 years. They've only caught us in the last handful of years doing this show or come to our events, and they think that is kind of the extent of the Drag Illustrated brand or how long we've been doing this. But it's weird to even think about that, but that is kind of I don't want to say secret sauce, but just that consistency and longevity of doing this. Like you don't just pop up and have these events overnight You don't pop up and do a lot of the stuff that we're doing just overnight. You have to build that foundation over a long time. And we've been doing that. And whether people know it or not, or follow all the different aspects of what we do, I feel like
not overnight, but it's close though, right, Mike? I mean, we found out about one race before we even woke up for the PDRA show.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. Me and JT, what was that? 2019. It was 2019. Yeah. We get back to the hotel room and hey, somebody's going live on the DI Facebook page. We pull that up. We just kick the shoes off. We're trying to get that like 20 minutes of rest before we got to go to dinner. It is, wait a minute. They're doing like a press conference. It's Wes and Richard Freeman and Steve Matusik are doing something at and that was the announcement of the first ever.
I just remember the look on your face.
That was the World Door Slammer Nationals, was it not?
Yeah. That was the World Door Slammer Nationals, man. Aren't you guys glad I give you more notice than that now?
There was
no notice.
There was less than 90 days, and then we were announcing. We just looked at each other like, "Did you know anything about this?"
No.
But that's
hey,
all right.
man,
I mean,
it went
we
well.
don't need that long runway, but just working together as a group, and like we always talk about. You say that our flag flies higher in the digital space and in our events because of the foundation of the print property, and that's definitely true. But I just didn't want, I guess maybe we need some acknowledgement. We've been doing this for a long time, and I don't feel like a lot of people realize exactly how long.
Yeah, it's I mean, 20 years is a long time. I mean, it's older than my kids by a good margin. It's like it predates most of the people that are in my life today. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of crazy, except for like the core group at Drag Illustrated. And it's a really, really amazing thing. And I tell you, I just look at the way of the world right now, and I feel like the time is great for print publications. There were several years that we went through where it was, people didn't think that print was going to maintain or stay relevant. And I think it has continued to do so. Like, I mean, it's a big deal still today to be on the cover of Rolling Stone or Vogue or Vanity Fair or GQ. Those things like have significance, right? And I think it's actually increasing in some regards because the novelty, I think, is worn off a lot of the digital stuff. Like, it's still great, right? And all these digital things are fantastic, but I think we've all stared at a screen so much so that we're kind of welcome to an opportunity to read a magazine or read a book or look at something that's not backlit.
That's never going to go
or
away.
Go to an event.
Yeah, and it's never going to go away, and it's not going to get buried. Like anything you post on social media or wherever, or throw on a website, it's buried. In no time. I mean, maybe it's good for a day, but you're kind of etched in history, I guess you'd say.
I think that's like I talked about it momentarily earlier, the preservation of our sport. I think sometimes like so much emphasis has been put on that, like preserving the past and preserving history and whatnot. But we've got to that is probably our biggest contribution to that effort is immortalizing these people. You know what I mean? Like their efforts, celebrating them and putting them in stone, so to speak. That paper, I mean, it's not going to get bumped down 3 lines on your news feed, right? I mean, that thing is, you can hold on to it. And I think that really still to this day, after all the technology and everything that's gone on, like for car culture, like that is still one of the crowning achievements for anybody is
and this Westway is taken off.
The Wesley.
That's what Jim Hughes wants to call it. What
if we have like a barn burning in the background and then like a little figurine, like kind of like
that has goosebumps,
like
that's got a ukulele.
Let's leave the ukulele out.
Okay,
I can't even say it. Shit.
No, I'll bust into some uke right now. Wessam? No, I don't know. You guys are making me blush. I don't want to do that at all. Let's not do that. Let's name it after somebody else.
We got a couple more questions. We're actually going to get through all these, which is impressive. I knew we had like 8 questions on here, and I was like, we're going to do 3.
Hey, let's do something. What do you think about a remake? What do you think about changing the cover logo? Not dramatically, but like changing the style, like going to the non-embellished logo on the cover.
Yeah, I've only been saying it for like 5 years.
We've done it sometime.
Yeah, I know. But like
I like
going to the non-embellished version, like the
I
single
like the
color,
non-embellished. That's what I like.
and maybe like Mike, you've
we're just
been
going to have
talking about doing a
design.
redesign of the
We're just
magazine.
going to have a design conference right here live on the show.
Yeah, but we've talked for about
yeah.
10 years
You're gonna
about doing
confront
a
me about this?
redesign.
Yeah,
And what do you think? Do you think? I mean, I think it could be done.
I'm all in.
You know, like change up
We've
the way
done
the
it.
dirt
We've
looks,
done-
change
I-
up the way
I bet
stage
we've
names
done-
and water box
I
look.
bet
Like,
we've
I
done-
know.
I bet we've done probably a half dozen covers with that version of the logo.
I like it. I mean, we've used it on a handful of special issues, but I was just wondering about maybe, I don't know, trying something or doing a series of dedicated covers, right? Like that are maybe specific, like go back to people that have been on the cover in the past and revisit those stories, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Fireworks
we did that online.
bursts, more flames. I got all kinds of ideas. Lots of strokes,
Checkered flag.
checkered flags,
JT's gonna
Yeah,
throw some drop shadow on it. Heavy
Yeah,
drop
shadow.
shadow.
Camo.
urban camo though. Oh, we can do
urban
digital
camo.
too. We can
Gray,
do the logo in
Gray. Everything's got to be gray, black,
red.
with some
with
red.
red.
Yes, got it.
Yeah,
That's
that's how I live my life, man.
kind of what I was thinking, is just redoing. Like I like the embellished version of the cover, you know, like I like the stroke and
that's not the best example. The reason why you have that is because it works on dark or light. Like if you pull
Right.
up the Kai Kelly cover, but you can work
Did you
around
see
it. Yeah,
this?
we do.
I saw this ad. Hold on, I'm going to
It's
show
time,
you this.
it's time to freshen it up a little bit.
I was going to show you this ad I saw in. Did I show you this in Watch Time magazine, which is a great magazine? Watch Time, if you're a watch guy or gal. But they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. and
Oh
they did
yeah,
like
we
a
were talking about
2-page
doing.
spread.
Yeah,
It's
don't show that
timeless.
because we were gonna
Yeah,
rip that off for an ad.
that looks-
No,
that
I
looks
think we should
timeless.
rip it off. I mean, that's what I want to do. We feel extremely proud having covered the watch industry for the last 25 years, and we look forward to the next 25. So we need to run a 2-page spread in DI. I want people. People might
Michael
as well
says
know
bring
how I
back
cook
the
these
first
things.
issue cover as a 20th anniversary collector's edition. The only problem with that is we don't have those files. The only files we have are since I started doing the magazine, or in full. I started doing the magazine in full. I think it was, did we find out it was like DI 23 or something like that?
I think it was 23
Something
that you
like
did.
that.
Because
Yeah.
prior to that, you would only do special features. Mike only
Right.
did the cover story, and it was a big deal. And he would do these super elaborate.
I started just
designs.
doing like small secondary features, then the full blown deal, then some more stuff and some ads. Then I finally did the cover and the full thing, like 20 something.
I think for years we were always stuck to right, making sure that we were using the same logo every time, just for recognition, you know. But I think now, I mean, everybody knows, you know, like we refer to a lot of stuff just as DI anymore. So, I mean, I think you can just do whatever you want to, Mike.
Yeah, we can.
Mike Kostick, this is a great comment here. Having a physical print copy means somebody actually invested in your story. Anybody can hit post. It's the extra step that means the most. That rhymes, and I'm not sure that Mike meant that, but it's
That was
I mean,
poetic.
Kendrick Lamar in the comments here, dropping bars. But I think there's a lot of truth to that, and I wonder just what the next. We've always focused a lot of energy in making Drag Illustrated like a showpiece. I tell people about this all the time. Like the very first issue of Drag Illustrated 20 years ago was mailed to subscribers in a poly bag, because we didn't want the magazine to be wet, dog-eared, folded, or anything like that when it got to one of our subscribers. And we've
Now, if that's what you
continued
do to it after you
reinvest.
get it, that's your business.
Yes. I mean, we've continued to reinvest in that. I mean, we went from 100% newsprint to a gloss cover and a newsprint interior page setup. Then we went to a full gloss setup. We went from saddle stitch to perfect binding. We've made all these investments. We got a cool coating on the cover of the magazine now. I mean, we've tried really, really, really hard to continually invest in it, because I always tell people car guys notice those details, right? They notice how a door shut. They notice how Lexan fits. They notice all those things. And I like to carry that over into the publication. But yeah, we're at a point now where it's like, I'm kind of wondering what the next step is. Perhaps some sort of like embossed logo where it's like indented.
I think, yeah, we need to talk about this more. You've got the wheels turning, and we'll debut it on the 20th anniversary for that.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. And I think we need to be cooking up some ideas. And if anybody
Well,
has
I guess
some
that's
great
what I'm
ones,
working
we'd
on
love
all
to hear 'em.
summer. I was
there's
gonna,
your
I
summer
was gonna,
plan.
be low key this summer, but now I'm redesigning the damn magazine.
Yeah.
I'll help you out.
All right.
Josh, get a new logo going.
Yep. I'm hitting him up right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
I don't want to
Mid-
change
no.
the
There's
logo.
teed
I
up.
just want to use the flattened version.
Josh is gonna help me, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's kind of my thought. Is
Josh's
I really like the cover of
Winter
GQ
Circle
and Esquire.
design
They do
looks
a
awesome.
fantastic job. You know,
doesn't it? For World Series of Pro Mod.
you want to
Josh
share
is
that with
killing it.
everybody?
Josh is killing it. We'd be in a world of hurt without Josh Dixon, just because we've just created so many different things now that need design work and so many items. I mean, the workload for the design department is insane, and we got Josh Dixon just crushing it every day.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. It takes a
grabbing it.
fucking army of people to pull all this stuff off. The check design, the big checks all turned out. I think that's one of my favorite things that we do is just crush the design of this stuff, man. Crush them. Dana Turner has all the DIs since she's subscribed. My mom has every single one, every issue.
I have every single one. I'm pretty sure I do. They're like probably disintegrating in my attic. I need to check on them.
Oh,
Sick the magazine is doing great, and I think it's a great
that.
example. I really liked this cover.
We're gonna get
Gold is the
it's
theme
gonna look badass.
for
Gold's
World
the theme.
Series.
I really like it.
You're kind of spoiling it, man. We were gonna pop that on everybody. That gold is the new thing for World Series this year.
I have to get my gold
Kind of
teeth
like the
tooth out.
whole. It's gonna look nice. Show him the checks.
I don't
Mike,
think he's
you
seen the
probably got
checks.
the checks. He probably hasn't seen the checks. The checks turned out bitching too.
I don't have the checks. I mean, I've got checks. 2-part out of state, post dated.
Counter checks, probably.
Counter
right?
check. Yeah.
Counter checks. And people
Yeah.
these days probably don't even know what that is. I mean,
Oh,
you used
man.
to have to memorize your bank account number.
I owned a bar, and the guys would get. I mean, they would drink so much, and they'd write a counter check. You just had stacks of them behind the bar, you know, and they wouldn't even put their account down. And I couldn't even read the names, but I go down, man, those tellers, they knew who it was.
It's hilarious.
It is.
I don't know if it
All
makes
right.
sense. But anyways, guys, what was our next question? The 20th anniversary. We talked about that. Let's do something dope. Is there anything else?
I think it's about it.
We had one on here. I don't even know if we want to go down this path. When are we going to see Big Chief or Ryan Martin
which one?
at a Winter Series event?
I mean,
Shout out Braxton for the question. I'll throw it up here. I honestly think when will we see Big Chief or Ryan Martin race at World Series or Pro Mod? I will tell you, man, the door's open, right? Those are guys that I have a lot of respect for. I'm appreciative of what they've brought to the sport of drag racing, and we would be absolute fools not to welcome their participation. So that door is open. I think right now we've got a really solid group of guys. But there was a question early on about, the future of No Prep Kings and Street Outlaws, and there has been some delays in getting a schedule out. I don't know all the details. We've tried to stay pretty apprised to it, but I think these guys are going to be looking for more opportunities to kind of continue their racing endeavors. I mean, we've already seen Big Chief kind of do his own thing with his YouTube channel that seems to be doing really well, going to a lot of these small tire events, 28-inch deals and cash day deals. So I think we'll see more of that. And if, the opportunity presented itself for either of those guys to climb behind the wheel of a competitive pro mod, a situation such as that of Murder Novas or someone like that, I think they'd be all over it. Big Chief, I don't believe currently has a big tire type car that would, make sense to go run pro modified at this level. Ryan Martin's, steel roof and quarter car we've seen can be competitive. I anticipate he's the type of racer that would want to come out with a purpose-built car, though. So it'll be interesting to see what the next few months hold. I think we're going to see a lot of movement in that space. I really do. I think we've already seen it, right? A lot of these guys showing up at our events, being invited to be a part of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series, but also getting involved with Donald Long's Lights Out event coming up next weekend, unbelievably. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see those guys popping up at a lot of places.
I think every time that, as we've had these races this winter, going into this third race for the World Series of Pro Mod, the first two races, the mending of the No Prep King guys with the Pro Mod guys and the NHRA guys and gals. I mean, it's it's really cool, and everybody seems to just be having a damn blast. So maybe they found a new home. You know, who knows?
Yes, I mean 100%. I
Yeah,
think
Drag
some of
Racing
these guys
Mayhem
have found a new home.
Is kind of got it summed up right
Go
here.
ahead.
It's just that, I mean, a lot of these guys, like you said,
what did he say?
sorry, they're. I didn't leave it up long enough. Sorry. What? Double clicking it again.
No Prep Kings isn't stable right now. If it was, then I'd cash in, or what? Then
No,
I'd cash
if I
in the
was
Pro
them,
Mod
I'd
in the Winter
cash in the Pro
Series.
Mod in the Winter Series. Yeah.
Yep, and the PDRA, and their fame right now is their YouTube channels. So I don't see how it hurts them. And
they've got to stay out there.
Everybody. It helps
Yeah,
everybody, to be honest.
They got to
with you.
stay out in
Helps
front
us,
of
helps them. Yeah,
right,
because it'll
I
go
think
away.
the key to it is to stay out there. I mean, if they want to keep the YouTube content rolling and selling merch and doing stuff, I mean, that you got to be out there, and they've got to find a place, even if that schedule, the MPK schedule, isn't out right now or is coming or whatever is going on with it. They've got to find a place to race. I think the Winter Series is uniquely positioned to take advantage of that because of it is kind of in the off season. I think going PDRA racing, whatever, would be a bigger stretch, but we'll see what happens with it. I think it's smart, man. Kudos to Kai. Kudos to Murder Nova.
Scott
Jimmy
Taylor,
Scott
Jim
Taylor.
Howe, Jimmy Taylor. I mean,
For
the list goes
jumping
on.
in. It's not easy to go put one of these things together and to come out there and dip your toe into these shark infested waters. I mean, this is not just, hey, I'm going to go pro mod racing. This is like, I'm going all in. And you see what happened, you know, with Kai, and then he's able to generate more YouTube content around that, show up, sell more merch, make dedicated shirts about the snowbirds that we saw. Like, you kind of just got to keep that thing going, even if it isn't like, this is a 10-year contract and I know I'm going to be doing this forever. Like, just kind of keep the ball rolling while you figure things out, and being adaptable, I think is a huge key. And it paid off right away for Kai. And I think we'll see it pay off for these other guys.
I agree. I mean, I think that one of the big points that I would take away from Drag Racing Mayhem's content is just a comment is how significant these racers' YouTube channels have become. You are no longer reliant entirely solely on a major broadcast partner. You don't need Fox News. You don't need Fox Sports. You don't need ESPN. You can present that content yourself. So I think the teams that are investing in that, the drivers that are investing in that, Jace, I think perhaps nobody has done it better than Justin Swanstrom. I mean, basically, the guy was buying cars or acquiring cars to race in a variety of different places solely so that he could create more content. And I think that that's probably the path we're going to continue to see these guys go down, especially those that are already kind of trained and accustomed to creating content and being on camera a lot. Like, they've kind of gotten the education and a rubric, so to speak, for that approach, right? Via Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings. So now you just, instead of having an outside producer kind of steering the ship, you're doing it yourself and creating the content yourself and distributing it yourself. So I think
like you have to follow Swanstrom stuff just to keep up with what he's doing. Like, you missed 2 weeks of content from him, and he's got a whole different 2 new cars. He's doing this, and he's racing everywhere, to where, like, if you're invested in what he's doing, you got to keep up with it. And he is driving his own, you know, path or creating his own path, not waiting until the path is dictated for him. He's probably the best example of that.
I think so. And it's, to me, I saw it when I first started seeing it. I saw it with like Megan Meyer. I was really impressed with the brand Megan Meyer built for herself, racing top alcohol dragster in the NHRA. I mean, by and large, those cars get very minimal television time, but every race she would have a new big sponsor, and she presented everything in a super first class, high level way. And I think that was the first time I felt like it was being broadly demonstrated that you don't have to race in a quote unquote premier category like Nitro Funny Car or NHRA Top Fuel to garner a sponsor and develop a personal brand. And we've seen that just get even more and more and more impactful, right? With the YouTube generation, right? Where you don't need anybody but of iPhone or whatever, and you can upload your own content. It's changed the world. And those that are taking advantage of it are reaping the benefits. I mean, look at the Shake and Bake show with Lyle and Stevie, 2 Pro Mod drivers, along with Courtney Enders, that has really become a significant thing in our sport. And now they have their own platform. They're not reliant on someone else to get their message out. They can do it themselves. So I think seeing more of that and more of that is a good thing. I touched on this earlier. seeing the Steve Kings and the Derek Wards and the Spencer Hydes and all these people creating content, putting themselves out there. I've never seen more of it in pro level drag racing than I'm seeing right now. Clay Milliken does a fantastic job of it, and NHRA Top Fuel. So the more of that we see, I just think that every time one of those videos goes out, it's moving the sport in the right direction. There's just, in my mind, there's no doubt. So, yep. All right, guys. Well, hey, I want to remind you that each and every episode, we got through almost all of them, I think. And remember, we love hearing from you guys. So huge shout out to Redline Synthetic Oils, Applied Racing Technology, Stroud Safety, Racers Club .us, and everybody that supports this crazy endeavor. And most importantly to all of y'all, we'll be back next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube page. I hope you join us. Help us spread the gospel of drag racing by clicking like, clicking subscribe, clicking share, and doing your part to keep things headed in the right direction. Mike, JT, appreciate you guys. Blake, thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
Later, y'all.